Hello, I'm Andy. I'm a hobbyist leather crafter based in the UK, and I I'm self-isolating at the moment because of the virus that everyone's talking about, the coronavirus. And essentially, I was in the shed talking to myself, and I thought, well, I might as well put a camera on, so I'm not actually just talking to myself. I'm talking to somebody else, or at least I can pretend I'm talking to somebody else. And today, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the suppliers that I use for getting leathercraft supplies in the UK. A lot of really great leather YouTubers out there use places like District Leather Company, Buckle Guy, Tandy, places like that, Weaver Leathercraft. But the thing is, over here, it can be prohibitively expensive to get things shipped. Not always, but it can be. And they focus a lot on the made in USA aspect of things, which is fantastic if you're in the USA, but I'm not. So I quite like I'm getting it from a chap down the road in England. That's what I'd rather support personally. So I thought I'd go over a few of the people that I use and the reasons why I use them. I've divided this video into two sections. The first bit is places I've used myself and can recommend as a result, and the second half is a kind of honourable mention section that I've either had recommendations from other people for but haven't used yet, or ones that are kind of ones with caveats, basically. So the first supplier I'm going to talk about is Prevo Leather. So Prevo are based in Newcastle, Newcastle upon Tyne. They're a supplier that I like using a lot, actually. They have generally quite cheap prices, I find. Their leather selection is very good. They've got a good variety of veg tan hides, cut straps, things like that. Their hardware is always very good, and it's pretty cheap generally. It's not all across the board, but generally it's the cheapest I've found. And they're generally a good sort of solid supplier. Their clearance bargain section especially is just wonderful. It's basically, for a sort of starting leather worker, it's, I think, perfect. You can get a sort of good variety of weird stuff. If you're looking for something a bit odd or a bit cheap, or something to prototype on, some sort of cheap leather that they're getting rid of, that's perfect, I think. And I basically learnt by using the Le Prevo clearance bargain section. And that's where they're kind of the first supplier I would recommend. The one caveat is their website and ordering process is, sorry Le Prevo, but it's not very good. Their website is pretty clunky. Their ordering process, you have to send off an order form, then they reply to you with an invoice. You've got to work it all out manually yourself, and it all feels a bit 80s or 90s, to be honest. But to be honest, I'm happy to deal with that because they're quite frankly, they're cheap. And they're good, and they seem like lovely people from what I can tell. So the second supplier I'm going to talk about is Artisan Leather. They're based in Devon, and what I use them for generally is kind of small bits of things. They're really great for if you want a panel of leather or a cut strap, something like that. Their hardware selection is particularly good. That's what I mainly use them for, actually, things like hardware. They've got some stainless steel buckles on there that I use quite frequently, some solid brass stuff, and I think they're great for, I don't think I'd do a massive order from there, but I think I'd do, if you want something a bit weird, a bit small, they're probably a good place to look for. They seem a great business to me, and they've been wonderful when I've dealt with them. Following on from Artisan Leather is a kind of similar seller, but based in Sussex, called Leather for Craft. They're also very good for they don't really sell whole hides of leather, the same as Artisan don't really. They are really good for panels. They've got a great range of different tanneries, so they supply Horween, Volpier. I think they do some Badalassi things as well. They're really great for sort of, if you want. I mean, I bought a little piece of butter leather from them the other day for a wallet that I wanted to finish off, and that's the sort of thing I'd use them for. They've actually got a great range as well of different animal leathers. So I was asked a while ago to look into whether I could do a non-cowhide based project for somebody who was Hindu. And that's, I think, where I'd go for that. They've got some horse leather, they've got kind of a bit of different things on there. So if you want something that's a bit sort of eccentric, that's probably a good place to go. One caveat with Leather for Craft is, unlike the others that I've mentioned, they don't actually do any hardware really. They've got, I think, some sort of Chicago screws on there, but they don't. They're a leather merchant, not a hardware supplier. So for that reason, I don't think, obviously, I would use them for hardware. No brainer. One supplier that I would go to, however, for hardware is Abbey England. Now, they're based in Northamptonshire, the home of leather in the UK, if you didn't know that. And they generally they forge their own hardware. They've got a wonderful line of things like solid brass hardware. They've got a wonderful tool selection. They've got some lines of their own tools, as well as stocking things like Osborne, John James needles, things like that. I think I'd use Abbey for things round the leather, personally. Like, I don't buy leather from them myself, because I can find it cheaper probably on Prevo or Cracks, like I'm going to say in a minute. But I think that they're fantastic for things like thread. They stock tiger thread, which I think is harder to get hold of in the UK than it is over in the States. At the best price I've found. They, as I say, John James needles. They're great for things that go round the leather. Adhesives, I buy from them as well. They actually have their own YouTube channel where they talk about how they forge their own hardware, and about things they've got in stock. So I think they're a really great company to support. So a similar business in terms of location is AA Crack. They're also based in Northamptonshire. And they are a fantastic leather merchant that a lot of big brands use. For example, William Lennon, the Derbyshire shoemaking brand. I think they use Cracks for some of their supply needs. They've got a fantastic selection of tanneries. So they stock Battleassie Carlo, CF Stead, Horween, Volpier, a lot of different tanneries. So I got a hide with Horween Dublin. There's a wallet there. I made that wallet from it. That I think it's probably the best place to get if you want a hide of Horween or a hide of CF Stead. I'd go to Cracks, and a lot of people do as a result of that. So similar to Leather for Craft, they don't actually stock much hardware. I think they stock a little bit of things like biothane, hardware, plastic clip type stuff, but they're not really a hardware merchant. They're a leather merchant, and as a result, I'd obviously go somewhere else for hardware. So onto the honourable mentions section. So as I say, these are people that I've not actually necessarily used myself, but some may have been recommended by somebody else. The first of these is Metropolitan Leather. They're another Northamptonshire-based leather company who are kind of renowned for doing really high-quality stuff. Harry Rogers, who I've mentioned, who I'll link below, likes their bridle leather for his belts. It's actually not too bad price if you think about the quality and how much product you're going to get from a hide. Actually, it's not too bad. On the website, they have actually as well some really cheap leather splits for about 15 quid that are going on sale at the moment. So that's great for prototyping. You're not going to want to sell it, but it's great for prototyping. Filler, that kind of leather. It's fantastic for that. We also have a good selection of tools on the website. They do Osborne tools, so I think it's really worth a look, actually, Metropolitan site. So the second seller I'm recommending, based on the recommendations of other YouTubers, is one Ian Atkinson's recommended to me. That's Identity Leathercraft. He quite likes using them. Their leather seems pretty reasonably priced to me, and I hear it's good quality, although their website does seem to be pretty expensive apart from their leather. The hardware especially is often sort of multiple pounds per buckle, more expensive than places like Le Prevo, Abbey, places like that. So I'm not sure if I would recommend going there for hardware and tools, but for leather, yeah, great, fantastic, they've got a good selection there. So another supplier I'd like to mention is Bostock Leather. When I was looking through forums and things trying to find other suppliers for this video, I found Bostock. I have used them before for I bought some rivets and some adhesive, I think, from them, and they seem a fantastic little supplier. However, I think their website is now shut down. I don't know if they'll be coming back. I kind of hope so, but yeah, keep an eye on them. If they come back, then please give them your business. They seem a lovely supplier to me. The last site that I'd like to say something about actually is eBay. eBay can be a great place to buy weird and wonderful things, especially sort of odd hardware. If you need something that's kind of odd and a bit specific, chances are some factory somewhere in China will produce it, and you can get it at a pretty low price. It can be great if you're just starting out for really cheap tools. This skiving knife here that I've got was £4. I'm going to do a separate video about this knife because it was recommended by Harry Rogers, who I've mentioned before, and quite frankly, for £4, this is astonishing, this thing. It's just came absolutely razor sharp with a bit of stropping as well. It's wonderful. But you can get burnt, obviously. Pretty low quality things also exist on there. But it depends what you're looking for. one particular eBay vendor I'd like to kind of mention is Midas Tools. They seem to make solid brass hardware that I quite like. If you don't want to do an order with a big supplier, for 10, 20 buckles, something like that, you just want a buckle of some sort. That I think I've used them a few times before for things like that. So yeah, and their prices seem pretty good as well. So go check them out. So I hope this has been useful. I appreciate it's a bit of a rambling mess. I'm not used to talking to a camera, but I thought, yeah, as I say, I might as well be in the shed and talking to myself and have a camera on because I'm going to be talking to myself anyway. So yeah, thanks very much, and check the links below where I'll have links to all the websites that I've mentioned, as well as the YouTubers that have recommended me things in the past. Thank you. Goodbye.